Welcome to Breaking Ties, Destination Divorce. This is your go-to source for practical advice and support while you go through the divorce process. Join us each weekday for a quick chat where we'll cover a variety of topics such as child custody, property division, and self-care. Together, we'll explore emotional, financial, and legal aspects of divorce and help you find the best path forward for you and your family. Here's your host and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst professional, Mike Fulkerson.
Welcome to the Breaking Ties interview series, where we talk with a professional who assists those in getting through the divorce process and answers many of the common questions you may have. I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And with me today is Dr. Stephanie Beelendorf. Now, Dr. B is a pediatric and prenatal specialist with Select Health Chiropractic in St. Charles, Illinois. And this really is going to be a great resource for us on the show, as she knows many things on health and wellness, especially during a challenging time such as divorce. Welcome, Dr. B.
Thanks for having me. I hope that I can help. I hope I can help some people, especially in the health world, because it definitely takes a toll during divorce. I should know. Unfortunately, I've been there. So.
Yes, I know you have. As my boys and I we've seen you for, well over 10 years. So it's been a very insightful time, as well as I learn a few things about my health and well-being.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. It's been a great hot minute, but definitely over a decade. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, one of the first questions that kind of comes up is, chiropractic. There's a lot of different places out there. People see them as they drive down the road, I'm sure, but perhaps they're not entirely sure of the benefits that chiropractic has for all people in just different walks of life. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, especially with us being, pediatric and prenatal specialists, a lot of times we get the question asked to us, why would you see somebody at such a young age? And I think really what it amounts to is stress takes a toll on anybody at any point in their life. And it's easy to think or look at it from an adult perspective, right? Because you're like, okay, I feel the stress. I see the stress. You start to see the stress lines maybe externally, but internally, we definitely can feel the stress. And chiropractors actually, we have a term called subluxation. And all that basically means is stress stuck in our bodies. And that's why we have a job. People don't always know when they come in why they feel so good when they leave, but it's really cool if you can sit here and watch. I mean, it's really cool to be a fly on the wall and sit in a chiropractor's office, because people come in sometimes very grumpy. I love our patients, so please don't take that the wrong way. If you're watching, I love you. I have my grumpy days too. And then they come in or happy, but they always tend to leave just so much better. Again, back to the idea of taking care of a baby. Why would you take care of, or I get this all the time, crack a baby? Well, first and foremost, we don't crack anybody. Nobody wants that. But the adjustment itself does cause that audible sound that we hear in adults. It's called cavitation. So that's just the release of gas between the joint spaces. And sometimes it's a little louder and sometimes it's a little softer. Sometimes our patients think that when you get adjusted that, if you get a really loud noise, that it's, that was a great adjustment. And the reality is if you fart quiet or you fart loud, sometimes it feels just as good. So anyways, bad analogy, but so we don't crack babies. We use something called neural tonal. So we just find those areas of stress stuck in a baby. We adjust those areas, and it really does help with all different kinds of things. Everything from digestive issues, colic, torticollis. We see a lot of babies for that. So really it's that whole walk of life. So whether we have the little tiny people or, somebody that's been and lived a lot of life, they all get benefit from the chiropractic care itself. And we'll talk obviously a little more too about how that can help people in divorce situations and why it helps.
Yes, yeah, that'll be coming up on a future episode as we've got Dr. B with us all week this week, which is fantastic. And actually, here an interesting question that has arose when I talk to people has been a lot of times we think of chiropractic as easing pain, and it does some of that. But what can it help with aside from that we may not even think about?
So it's interesting, and actually, we have our little visual here. We call her Carol, thanks to our awesome staff. But it shows the autonomic nervous system, and only approximately 10% of your nerve fibers are even there for pain. So we would think chiropractic is pain based or pain driven because it's something that drives somebody to a point that they're like, hey, I can't do this anymore. I'm uncomfortable. And so they come in. But you'd be surprised, especially now. I think people are starting to become more in tune with their bodies. And it really is driving a wellness based model because, again, 10% of those nerve fibers are controlling the pain. The other 90% controls every vital function within your body. So, your digestion, your rest wake cycles, your cardiac, your your cardiac input output, your lungs, everything is controlled, even down to fertility, which is why we actually see a lot of moms for infertility issues. Because if
Wow.
you don't have a balanced nervous system, you're stressed out. It's a primitive thing. Think about it. If you can't think primitively, like caveman stuff, it's kind of wild to think that way. But if you're going to have a baby or be pregnant, you need to be in a calm state. You can't be running from dinosaurs and that's primitive, but it's the same idea, and that's how our autonomic nervous system works. That's the sympathetic versus the parasympathetic response.
Yeah, wow, that is fantastic information. Appreciate you sharing that with us, and I'm looking forward to our future questions as this is going to actually conclude day one of the interview, and you're going to want to join us tomorrow. I mean, these are cool responses to just information. I don't even know all this stuff, and I've been going to see Dr. B for well over a decade, and so we're going to continue this discussion tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week on chiropractic, wellness, and divorce. And Dr. B and I would like to thank you for joining us today on the Breaking Ties interview series. Should you have any questions for Dr. B, I'm going to include her information in the description for the podcast, so you're free to reach out and contact her with questions that you may have as well. Now, remember, divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. And we will see you guys tomorrow.
We want to thank you for listening to this episode of Breaking Ties, Destination Divorce with Mike Fulkerson. For questions, please reach out to Mike via email in the description or give him a shout at 630-444-1410. Remember to subscribe, like, and follow.